All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for Monster, episode 49. All right.
Back.
Guess who's back?
Lung back again.
Yeah. Lung is such a character that's grown on us over the course of the series. And now that he's back, we're worried and excited.
Yes.
Because he's figuring so much stuff out. And the last episode, you were very much worried, like, oh, they're setting him up to die.
Yeah, because his head
boy.
could very easily end up on the chopping block. However, until then, even if he does end up dying, I'm sure that all the stuff that we're going to get into with him will be absolutely amazing.
Yes.
So that'll be great.
Yes, I want everyone to group up. Like, I want everyone to group up. I'm so excited.
The most ambitious crossover event in history.
Yes. A lot of things have been happening with Anna and her memories and all that.
Yes.
So,
yes.
tying, that into kind of what's been happening with, Tenma and Grimmer, and then, the lack of Johan more or less recently. Like, Johan's kind of
right, we had that whole stint at the
for
hospital, but, he left his message. But,
So, all right, guys. Monster.
Yep.
Without further ado, let's get into it.
本当かよ。本当だよ。あの金髪の女だった。その女をドミニカン通りで見たんだな。そして最後まで追いかけなかったんだよ。だって腹減ってグーグー言ってたんだもん。こうなったら俺たちがあの女の居場所を突き止めて警察に突き出してやろうぜ。グリマーさんは院長を殺してなんかないって。から作戦会議だ。ミローシュ、早く飯食っちゃえよ。
And that's the right coat. I think that's Johan. Oh.
Oh my god!
グリマーさんへ。こういう場合どういう顔をすればいい。51チキンダーハイムで喜怒哀楽を奪われた。
ご覧になって、あの子たちの日記というよりあなたへの手紙みたいなものがいっぱい。グリマーさんはサッカー下手くそだから教えてあげる。グリマーさん、またみんなで遊ぼうね。
なぜあの子たちは俺のことを思っているんだ。
それはみんなあなたのことが好きだから。
俺は以前自分の子供の死んでいく時にどんな反応をすればいいのか考えてた。この場合は泣けばいいのか、今でもどうしたらいいかわからない。いやー、アントニー。
あの金髪の女を見つけたんだ。昨日みんなで居場所を見つけようって見張ってたミロー氏がいなくなっちゃったんだ。
あなたのもとに面会にやってきた人物というのは、中年の紳士と長身のドイツ人と長髪の日本人、美しい顔。
ええ、とても綺麗な。でもあの人は男よ。
なるほど。
No. Oh, Lung, you're so good.
あそこで何してたの？
別に。
あなた、よくこの辺りを歩き回ってるわね。
Milos doesn't want to look at Johan.
Yeah.
Wow.
誰を探してるの？
母さん。
お母さんを探してるって言ったじゃない。写真か何かあるの？
わかるよ。母さんの顔見ればわかるよ。養護院の誰も信じないけど。でも僕、母さんを見ればわかる。母さんだって僕を見ればわか
る。Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god. But see the connection there? Johan looking for his parents.
Yeah.
あなたは望まれて生まれたの？
Oh, what is that question?
あなたはなぜ捨てられたの？
Johan.
お母さんはあなたが嫌いだから捨てたんじゃないの？
違う。
宇宙のほとんどが死なんだから。
Oh well, here we go. We were waiting for more Johan. Here we
地球の
go.
片隅で生まれた命なんて、あなたは誰に望まれたの？あなたが生きる理由って
Holy crap. Holy crap. Holy crap.
ああ、それならアンナのことだな。もう確か次の角の袋小路の奥のアパートメントだと思うよ。
アンナあの子はいい子よ。3階のあの窓。
You've got to be
子
kidding
供たちが
me.
言ってることが本当なら、そしてミローシュがその女にさらわれたというのが事実なら、
そしてその女が私の思っている人物なら、ここで全てが終わる。
Okay, they've gone.
俺の無実を晴らそうとその金髪の女を追って、こういう場合はどういう反応をすればいいんだ。新聞社に勤めていた俺に同僚の女が声をかけてきた。俺のことが好きだって。俺は結婚した。スパイ活動をするには結婚していた方が怪しまれないって教えられてたから。彼女は妊娠した。俺が子供の部屋に入った時には、あの子は突っ伏したまま息をしていなかった。葬式の時、妻は俺を罵倒した。なんで泣かずにいられるの？あなたはずっとそうだった。私に対してもそうだった。あなたは人を愛せないのよ。あなたの心の中には何もないのよ。そして妻は出て行った。ミロシを探さなきゃ。
私が思っている人物なら、その子にとって一番残酷なことをしてから殺すでしょう。
その途中に母さんがいるの？
あなたはお母さんを見ればわかる。そしてお母さんもあなたを見ればわかる。でも誰もあなたに声をかけてこなかったら、あなたは誰にも望まれてなかったってことになるわ。どうするの？行きなさい。
Holy crap, Johan.
母さん。
Gotta be kidding me.
Jeez.
なんだい坊や。
探してるんだ。
探してる？誰？
母さん。
そりゃいいや。いや知ってるよ、坊やの母さん。
どこにいるの？
ここにはざっと50人はいるかな。
あなたはなぜ捨てられたの？
Oh, this is so messed up.
僕は母さんを。
いいからこのまま抱きしめさせて。
どうしたんだいその子。
まさか。
私
はそんなヘマしないよ。
病気は移されるけどね。
うるさいね。やんのかいこら。
何すんのよ。話せよ。
This kid.
ちょっとやだよ。こんなとこじゃん。
金は払った。
だってちょっと、子供が見てるよ。
待て。見ていてくれ。
What the?
逃げないでくれ。
No.
私はドイツで取っておいてくれ。
あなたは誰に望まれたの？あなたは誰に望まれたの？あなたが生きる理由って何？
そうだったんだ。
Oh, good. Oh, good. They're actually gonna find him? They're gonna find him, yeah.
街中でミローシを見かけた人間は
Okay,
何人もいたんだ。
No. Kid, no.
ミローシ。
It's too late.
大丈夫。こっちへおいで。 もう大丈夫だ。おいで。
Jeez.
大丈夫だ。どうしたミロシュ？何を見てきたか。ミロシュ、聞いてくれ。お前には母さんがいない。だがな、お前が生まれてきたのには意味がある。お前は誰かに望まれて生まれてきたんだから。絶対誰かに望まれて。
He's coming back to himself. Yeah.
ドクターテンパ、俺と言ってること間違ってないよな。俺今どんな顔してる？泣いています。
Wow. This was a okay. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. This episode, there were a couple things that felt just like not off, but they felt like just like whoa, and it was really heavy. But it's not really the things that happened to Milos, that were kind of the freaky things. What it was how much like time they basically decided to showcase Johan doing that kind of projecting / kind of imprinting brainwash thing on Milos, basically to show how terrifying Johan can be, because it's like we haven't forgotten. But then this thing with Grimmer constantly asking about whether or not this is the right expression. This is something that he hasn't really done up until this point, so it felt a little bit kind of strange. Like we understand why he's doing it.
Of course.
They made it very clear.
Right, and it worked. What they did this episode worked very well as the sort of standalone episode that it was. I mean, it'll contribute to the overall plot.
That's what it is.
But this is very much a
standalone.
Standalone. Like this episode had things that were introduced here and were resolved here, for the most part.
Right. So So is this okay? Let me try and break this down, because you're right on the money that this is a standalone episode. But the thing is that they made it seem like it wasn't. So here's what we mean by that. Or at least what I mean by that is that the episode brought the whole Anna Johan thing and had them basically searching for Johan.
And they had Tenma discover, okay, the blonde girl is Johan.
Clearly.
And
and even more so with the thing with the kids being kind of the carryover from the past when Grimmer separated with them after they played soccer. And all that with their director with the unlicensed orphanage that he was running, and
and them getting sent off to the other
orphanages, and then they're trying to help Grimmer, and I'm like, all right, this is all cool, and it feels like it's tied into the overall plot, but because of the way they structured Grimmer's little story arc within the episode, they had there be an actual reveal about him having to be taught to learn emotions again, which is something that we had already kind of known, that because he was a spy, he had to be taught how to blend in with people
and how to smile and
how to smile.
And they covered that, and I feel like that's the main reason why that part of this episode felt out of place. Is because when they introduced Grimmer, he exuded nothing but warmth. He was just a good guy. It seemed like he had essentially mastered what we came to know now as learning to put on the emotions that are necessary,
and it did seem
the expressions,
and it did seem a couple times earlier that he would smile a little bit creepily, and it was something that we could tell was manufactured, but we took that as, well, he's a spy, so therefore whatever he's wearing on his face could be manufactured for the purpose of gregariousness and or whatever social situation it is.
And or potentially just trying to sort of put a bold face on the hurt that he has endured, right?
Great point.
Because most of the time it was smiling, right?
Yeah.
And when they established the idea that he had to be taught to smile and that was the hardest thing, what I perceived that as is, of course, the horrible thing that he had to learn how to smile and that he couldn't do it, right?
Because of the Kinderheim trauma.
Because of the Kinderheim trauma and everything. But that now, that was actually what everyone knew about this guy, is his smile. He's smiling everywhere he goes. And that the strength became, or the weakness became a strength, right?
Right.
That very thing that was the difficulty for him, that ended up, because of maybe his focus or, however, it ended up being this wonderful thing that touched so many people, right?
Yeah.
But here, it seems like they were going the different angle of he's not that far along his journey, actually.
Or, Yeah. Or there's a lot of this where he keeps everything so positive in general that he doesn't have to deal with negative stuff usually.
Yeah, so the fact that he was bringing it up at so many points when I wouldn't have expected him to bring it up at those kinds of moments, like when, for instance, he was dealing with Milos, and that was the culmination of the episode, so it worked, right? Because it's it's the idea that he sees himself in Milos and they're able to kind of help each other, Yeah. That was very, very good.
Very good.
But it was still one of those things of like the fact that was not how it was handled and executed, but the fact that it was something that needed to be handled and executed felt a little bit off for someone like Grimmer.
Right. And we appreciated the backstory with the whole wife and kid.
Yes.
Which is just horrible. Like, that's just ugh. That tore my guts open. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
But the thing I think that's really cool here is that they decided to tie that in with the whole aspect of Milos. And in that respect, it's something that shows not really the malevolence of Johan, but in some ways just how callous he is to the utilization of this. Like here's an example. Johan, we've seen like up until recently, has like been keikaku, manipulating things, and now it just seems like he's shooting the breeze, basically.
Yeah, because that was the weird thing about this, because one of the sort of almost rule of cool things about Johan is that he always has this plan, right? And he does horrible things, but it's all according to plan, right? It's all like, for the most part, it's all to get him some new objective or something like that.
Right. What I meant by the plan thing was that in Munich he had a plan. We know that because he deviated and went to Prague, he's not necessarily operating on a perfect plan anymore.
Right.
But what I mean is that this seems like for him it's time wasted.
Right. And the way that I could kind of explain this or rationalize it in my own head is that basically everything that he was saying to Milos was projection, and that he was basically doing is he was venting his frustration, and kind of like, if you think like an abusive parent or something like that, right? Where they have a bunch of issues somewhere else, right? With just, life, right? And then they take it out on the little kid that is, close by, right?
Yeah.
Because the little kid can't fight back.
Which might be extremely good characterization of Johan.
Right, because then it's getting at his insecurities and everything, which is fantastic.
But because we don't have any confirmation as to what that is, we're left to guess.
Right.
And the way it's good is that Johan set up the perfect getaway from this kid. He has nothing to worry about from this kid if his little plan goes into play here. Yep. He knows enough about this area, probably because he traveled from Germany to here via this route. And he's like, okay, I'll get him to go into the red light district area. There'll be a lot of moms out there on the street.
Oh, yeah.
And he is going to get so screwed up in the head by what he ends up encountering.
Yep.
And he'll be left alone in the dark to his own thoughts and my words that I've implanted in him.
Yep.
I say it's probably one of the most sadistically genius, messed up things Johan has done in the entire series. But because it's just to some random kid, it's something that I don't want to attribute it to Johan's malevolence. I want to attribute it to Johan's characterization of maybe he's projecting, like you said, this thing about his own mother.
Right, because that is something that is now it's relevant subject matter, right? Yes. Johan's parentage and where he came from.
Yeah.
And especially now that he's been talking about what's really important and the idea that family is most important. We've had it talked about with Anna, but not really anything past that. And his whole message on the tape seemed like something that was more an emotional decision than a logical one.
True.
So the fact that he might be doing something emotional then in the next episode, yeah, it's like I can track with that. That doesn't seem like it's coming totally out of left field.
Right.
Even though it is very different from the Johan that we've seen up to this point. So if it had been clearer that was what was going on, that would have been helpful.
Right. What's probably going to happen is once Anna and Johan actually meet, that's when we're going to find out really some needed context as to Johan's decision making here, because it seems like we know that Johan has changed based on the book. When he saw the book, Johan flipped a switch, and now he's on a different path now. The thing we know about Johan is that he is kind of on his way to doing the thing he's, at least for the most part, always wanted to do, which is to
disappear.
To disappear. And if he's constantly making sure that he's setting up maybe everything to be a perfect fall for Anna, and maybe that's why he's doing this, and this kid knows he's not, so he's like, I have to set up the perfect way that this kid will die, and or if he ever is found, he will never speak of me ever again, because I've traumatized him to his core.
Yeah, and even if somehow he did, he would just remember Anna.
That's another very good point.
Which would be almost an impossibility, but
Yeah. So what I think might be the weird thing about this episode was the sudden abrupt kind of presentation of Grimmer's character, and how that is going to maybe be a change, and we're just looking at it outside of the context of Grimmer's character as a whole.
Yeah.
And it's just that this change is going to be something that will feel way more natural post this traumatic event.
Here's a way that it could fit in.
Okay.
So, one, the thing that they did at the beginning of showcasing the kids, that was really good to sort of say, all right, we know we introduced Lung and we developed the story further. Right. We're going to take a bit of a detour here, and this is going to be an episodic episode kind of a thing, right? That was good to sort of prepare us.
We just touched upon Lung a little bit, and they're like, all right, now it's about the kids.
But the whole thing with Grimmer could make sense from the standpoint that now him and Tenma, all cards are on the table.
Ah, sure.
So because of that, and they had confided in each other about things, before, like the fact that he's from Kinderheim and things like that. But with the events of the previous episode and Johan and knowing how connected to all of this Tenma is, that might be what caused Grimmer to open up a bit more, so that he basically dropped the very believable mask
facade
that he constantly has up, right?
Right. He's essentially revealing his thought process.
Exactly.
One of the things that's very out of character for most people that have, I would say, a very intensive inner world is once someone starts to go into stream of consciousness processing and they just tell their internal world's thought process, they reveal it to everyone, people go, whoa, you actually think this intently on these specific things? That doesn't seem like you. You just seem to do it so naturally. And it's like, no, you don't understand.
There's a lot of stuff beneath the surface,
Grimmer's broken as well. And I think that's something that they tied in parallel-wise very well here, was that this kid, by the end of the episode, didn't know how to emote.
Yeah.
He was done. He was inert.
Yep.
He believed he was unwanted and had nothing in the world to live for.
Yeah.
Which is, Johan, you sadistic, disgusting bastard. I can't believe how good you are at this. It's so nasty.
You know what was probably my favorite part from this episode?
What?
And it doesn't make sense for it to be my favorite part. But they've shown all this horrible stuff that is happening with this kid. They haven't shown Johan taking him away yet, but and then Tenma and Grimmer are going up, and then it's like, okay, that's the place. All right. And then it switches straight to Tenma just cocking the gun and getting ready to blow this guy's head off. He's like, and that did me so much good, because that's exactly what I wanted to do at that moment. I wanted to shoot Johan in the face, right? And the fact that Tenma, the one who's, who had so much trouble even killing anybody, right? The fact that he killed Roberto, weighed on him so much, and he couldn't bring himself to kill Johan when he had the opportunity and everything. Yep. And now it's just like, nope, Johan, and he's got a kid. All right, bitch is gonna die.
I love how he's also not at all worried that this is the real Anna.
Oh, yeah, exactly. He doesn't even cross his mind, doesn't even consider it for a moment. He doesn't even have to have a moment of wait, does that mean Masaka? It's just oh crap. All right, well, let's do this.
Tenma's gone on a journey as well. Mm-hmm. I also thought it was very cold how quiet Tenma was throughout that final scene. I get that was Grimmer's scene, okay?
And he was wanting to let Grimmer process and discover this and everything.
I mean, yes, but I think the fact that a kid was about to kill himself.
Yeah.
And Tenma was like, okay, Grimmer, you've got this. Mm-hmm. I get that Grimmer's the one that has the relationship with the kid.
Yep.
But there was this part of me that's like, I don't know if Grimmer's handling this properly.
Right.
And I think that was cool that Grimmer echoed that, but am I handling this properly? Mm-hmm. And so, okay. The episode's over. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I really, really think that this episode handled exceptionally well, I mentioned earlier on that I felt that this episode kind of caught me off guard with specific things, but it wasn't anything actually about what happened with Milos. It was just really Grimmer.
That caught me off guard, I will say.
No. I would just say that the extremity of how traumatic it was to Milos, that hit me emotionally. But in terms of from a logical, that it happened.
Johan found the kid. He took him away somewhere. Whatever was going to happen wasn't going to be good.
Right. So I was expectant of that, and then when all this crazy stuff happened to him, I'm like, oh, this is just horrible. But with the descent into madness happening from the perspective of a kid, I have never seen that. Never seen that in an anime, in a visual medium, in a show, done so terrifyingly well that I started to okay, when you empathize with a person, you begin to kind of absorb a bit of their feelings, their psyche, and all that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah, feeling what they're feeling and everything.
I started to get a little bit twinged by it, when you see the person in the horror thing and their neck just kind of goes, because they're
the shaft head tilt.
Well, not the shaft head tilt in terms of the crazy bit, but it's they're crazy inside just a little bit. That was what
there's a switch that's flipped in a way that it shouldn't be. Yeah,
I could feel this is how well I think Johan is written, because okay, Johan I think actually was kind of. I'm not criticizing the Johan character. I'm gonna make a little bit of an assumption here.
All right.
I think the writer of Monster is terrified of writing Johan's scenes.
Sure.
Because you have to handle it in such a way that it seems believable that Johan could do this, and that the result would lead in such a way that's realistic.
Right, and to have it seem effortless.
Well, effortless, but just that it's done.
Yeah.
And the way that the scene at the table and the scene in the room and all that on the road was handled, it disturbed me to my core. There was something about it because this was a kid, and I could see that even in the way they animated the kid avoiding Johan's look, catching their words in their mouth as Johan would not answer specific questions the kid would have and control the conversation and do all these things. It's oh my god, imagine. Okay, I feel like I wasn't empathizing with the kid. What I feel like I got into the headspace of was the writer as they were crafting what Johan would say perfectly in order to manipulate the kid. And I was like, oh god, what headspace does the writer need to get into in order to actually create these scenes? And that just disturbed me on a level. So then when the horrifying stuff with the prostitute being like, oh, let me hold you, and then no, I would never make a mistake like you, and watch this kid, I'm a respected teacher. I'm just like, I'm already disturbed at my max. So all this is just like...
At this point, you're in shut-off mode.
At that point, I am in shut-off mode like the kid. So
yeah.
I have to applaud the episode, the writers, the writer, the mangaka or whatever. Does Monster have a manga?
Monster is a manga.
Okay, yes. And just say this is one of the most disturbing episodes, not for the reasons that I think you would think.
Right,
just in how well they framed the scene in the apartment and at the road.
Right. Because
not the kid on the bridge, not the
Yep, absolutely. Because the thing is I feel like if someone were to watch this episode, and they didn't look too closely at it, and they wanted to imitate it, they'd be like, okay, the kid that sees the horrifying stuff,
Yeah.
But that's not what it is.
That's not what it is.
It's the words. It's the fact that he's thinking about these things. My favorite part about this episode, from the standpoint of just making me horrified and feel for this kid, were not the parts where it showed his blank face. It was not when the dude told him to watch and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was the parts where we saw him walking, and he was just staring down at his feet. Camera, because it's the first person perspective of him looking down at his feet, but also just showing these tiny little shoes. This is a little kid. This is a little kid.
Yeah, he's like 9.
Yeah, and for a point I was like, well, maybe younger, because probably not. But like those
he could be maybe as young as 7, but I would say
I wouldn't say any lower than
8
7.
to 10.
Yeah, probably 8 to 10. But the thing is, those little feet were plodding along, and they got slower, and the steps were smaller, and the way they kept going back to that and everything, it's just like, oh man,
there's some fundamental questions that Johan gets at, which are kind of the universal fears of the human existence.
Right.
And
then magnified in this kid's case because he's an orphan and everything.
Absolutely. But being able to communicate them in such a way that I believed that an 8 to 10-year-old kid would understand and be able to track, so that Johan could actually manipulate his headspace to go into specific directions of this whole thing. It messed me up a little bit. Like
and but this is the other thing that hit me really hard. It's like the reverse of the plodding footsteps.
Ooh, yeah.
Is when Grimmer picks him up and hugs him.
Yeah.
And you see the kid's tiny little hand slowly clutch Grimmer's shirt. Like, visual storytelling at its finest.
Yeah.
Like, that.
It's a lingering moment. It's a emotionally terrifying, capitulation of an arc of a story.
Yep.
And it's
it's literally like you're seeing this kid's hand not clutch Grimmer's shirt, but clutch back at life,
clutch back at everything,
existence, you know. And
I gotta say also, part of what I'm realizing now is I'm kind of getting a outside perspective of this episode, because I feel like in the middle of it, Grimmer's characterization felt just a little bit off. But when he comes up to the kid, I realized that this whole episode was kind of about the shared experiences, but also the projection of experiences and stuff. Grimmer is seeing a mirror of the experiences that he had as an adult and a kid, but only on a kid in this case. And the worries that Grimmer had about feeling unwanted, about being worthless, about being basically nothing in this world, seeing those on the kid, he was able to identify and emotionally connect with that immediately, because it's something that I would say grips at the heart of Grimmer even now. And that's probably why they decided to have this whole thing of him telling all of a sudden I don't know how to feel with this whole thing, because I think we kind of assumed that somewhat.
Right, we just didn't assume that it was. We assumed that was something he was more on the other side of. Like, he was still dealing with it, but he was on the downward slope now.
Right. Yeah. And now we just figure out he's just as lost as this kid
exactly,
is.
Right.
And that is very, very, very cool and very different, I would say, for an adult character in a story like this to
absolutely
have to deal with.
Yeah,
I think what they generally do with this is they put this in actually the villain serial killer spot where they try to make us empathize with a cold, heartless killer and say like, I don't know how to feel. I don't know how to express my emotion properly.
That can be fine, but the thing is that it usually falls short for a few different reasons. One of the things that made it certainly not fall short here is that we've already established a strong emotional connection to Grimmer.
Huge! One of the best characters in his show, hands down!
So we are right there with him when it happens, even though it did kind of take us by surprise a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
And 2, we have the capitulation of his little mini character arc in this episode.
Yeah.
Be right alongside a kid. And who can't empathize with a kid? Like, I feel like kids in stories are kind of like dogs, where basically you know, if you want to make someone love a character, make them play with a kid, right?
Yeah.
Like with Grimmer. Yeah. If you want to make someone hate a character, make them be mean to a kid.
Yeah, make them be some kind of a dick to a kid, you know.
And in this episode,
they did that multiple times.
Yeah, and
over and over and over and over.
And they
again.
did that with Johan, which I was a bit surprised.
Oh, you thought that he would on some level be kind of like his usual, like, I have my thrall of kids and I'm just going to make him, not necessarily
try and make him into another me, which I feel like that could be also how we get new characterization for Johan, is that maybe that's what kind of happened for him with everything that we've heard about from his backstory of him and Anna. They were the only ones in the world and everything. Can totally see that. But that wasn't the same kind of things that he did with like the other kids when he was in Munich and things like that. So,
do you want to go into that real quick?
Okay, sure.
Because let's put ourselves in Johan's head for a second. Just a split second here.
Yeah.
He does this to Milos, right?
Mm-hmm.
His main probably priority here is just to remove the kid as a threat, right?
Sure. Because he found him.
He found him. Yeah.
Yep.
That's annoying. I need to get rid of you. And I think Johan is not in a rush to do anything else. So he's not trying to just ditch him in a few seconds. He's like, I'm going to make this a permanent solution. But I think Johan enjoys this. I think Johan treats this as just like he did previously. This is practice for him.
Okay. Yeah.
So what does Johan gain out of this if we try to align this with his motivation of disappearing?
Well, what it does, one thing that it does, because here's the thing. There's plenty of times where Johan could just kill people. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't, not, or at least not in the obvious way.
Because it could lead a trail back.
Because it could lead a trail.
Yeah.
And here, I feel like what he was really doing here is he wasn't trying to kill the kid. He was trying to kill the kid and have the kid disappear. You know, so that no one would find the body. No one would know why he died. You know, it's like what, he killed himself. That doesn't make any sense. He's a little kid. You know?
They might never find the kid. For 10
exactly.
years or something.
And
like
even
that.
if they did, you know, and they find his water bloated body, in a river somewhere. Well, they're certainly not going to think it's suicide. They're going to think he was, probably murdered late at night, whatever, fell off the bridge or accident.
He was playing and just slipped or something. Yeah,
but nothing that would lead back to Johan.
Nothing,
right? Because in a lot of ways, the suicides lead more to Johan than actual murders, as long as they're far away.
Right. This just looks like an accident. So there's another scenario, I think, beyond that Johan is basically just mathematically weighing against the odds that he doesn't kill himself. I think that is that this kid finds something else. And here's something something
and
that
then he becomes more like Johan.
Yeah, one of the things that I remember way back when with the guy in prison who killed like tons of people, and he talked about Johan with this just
the guy with the glasses,
and the little mustache
and
or whatever,
and killed himself with the pen.
He revered basically the idea of Johan. He had this this respect, this awe. But the thing is that if I remember correctly, he didn't ever give up Johan. He didn't ever really give much information to him other than basically talk as if
and potentially maybe the part where he scribbled over the hair, because that connotated disguise potentially, but that's far-reaching. No one would get that just looking at the picture.
Exactly. That seems more like an effect of the fear kind of stuff that came from Johan. So let's say this kid lives. Mm-hmm. What happened to Johan again?
Well, he lived.
Johan found something. Johan was either already broken and messed up, or all this trauma, all this stuff bore itself within Johan, and Johan, something either snapped or something slowly over the course of time broke. And I think that what Johan is doing, and this is something that is that I think Johan is wanting to basically utilize what he's gained, what his abilities are, if you will, to see like how many of him he can make,
to see if he can live forever through his spawn.
Right. A way to exchange the whole disappear thing is also the idea to become to become fear, basically,
right,
to have him basically be everywhere and nowhere,
right. If he were somehow able to just disappear, like he could theoretically stop doing what he's doing and just go live in a cottage somewhere,
that's
sipping
what
tea,
I think,
knowing that he unleashed 20 of him, on the
and
world.
Then they'll go and do the same.
Exactly.
Because I like the idea that Johan is unique, right? I think we all kind of like that idea.
Right.
But I think what this show is trying to get at, and it's trying very well, is trying to get at that Johan isn't that special.
Right, or maybe he's an extreme case, but
he's an extreme case, but there's
others.
Plenty of others like him, and the actual effort needed to make more like him
is not that much.
Is not as much as you'd think.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that show's called Monster, right? And we've talked about the whole idea of if Tenma manages to beat Johan, get him arrested, kill Johan, or whatever. But Johan still wins because he's essentially made more of him,
Yeah.
Well, the show's called Monster. That has a connotation of a different species. If you were to think of it in the more literal sense rather than like the metaphorical monster,
Right.
Well, one of the primary drives of any species is to reproduce.
Well, to survive.
To survive, right? And because we know that we're all going to die someday, it's to pass the torch on to the next generation, right?
Right, and it seems like his whole fixation with death on the kid might have had some connection to that.
Sure, because one of the things that we know is that Johan did seem to be made in a lot of ways by the Rose Manor or mansion, or whatever.
Kinderheim
and all of that
all
stuff.
That stuff, yeah.
And especially, and we don't know anything about the lieutenant or whatever dude that wrote the book and all that stuff. We don't really know much about him, right?
Yeah.
But that seems like the kind of thing where he wanted to leave his mark on the world, right?
Sure.
He wanted to make sure that whatever twisted thoughts and ideas were up in that head, that he could, create a mini him that maybe would even go farther than him.
Sure.
And then unleash it upon the world. Johan does that here.
Yeah.
Maybe because, to tie back to the whole projecting idea, because Johan has insecurities about where he came from and everything. And the fact of the part that really stuck out to me was when he said, what if your mother doesn't recognize you? What if what if she rejects you, or something like that,
pretends that she doesn't recognize you.
Yeah, what if she pretends that she doesn't recognize you? that was brilliant and twisted and sick, because it was basically not contradicting what the kid said of she'll recognize me.
Yeah.
I know it. It says, but what if she doesn't want to and she just pretends that she doesn't, right? That was so
good and so messed up.
But that also potentially raises the question: if Johan is here and he's wanting to reconnect with family, because family is what's most important. One of the questions we've had is, well, why hasn't he? Why haven't we seen that?
Yeah.
What if he has, or he's tried to, and they denounce him as a monster? Or at least the mom does. I don't know what the dad would be like, if he's still alive.
I think that's a good area that we don't really want to go too deep into,
because it's completely conjecture.
It's completely conjecture, but I think we do know that he hasn't met them yet, because Anna hasn't. I think that we can almost guarantee that this is all a trap laid for Anna. The fact that he's pretending to be Anna, the fact that he's doing all this stuff there, I think he's trying to get to his family, But in order to do that, he needs to get Anna. I think he wants the whole family back together. I don't think he's trying to just find the parents.
Sure.
I think he's trying to basically get everyone together, and then he can decide who lives and dies. And then,
or they all sit around the dinner table and have an interesting evening. Yeah,
I mean,
because what it almost seems like with Johan is that he has this sense of responsibility for Anna, not just caring about Anna, because he absolutely does. But the idea that it's like, I need to take care of Anna, right? So all the things of like going around to the families and killing them and things like that.
Yeah,
he could absolutely have done that himself for his own like sustenance, and he did after they got separated, right?
Right.
But
I mean, that was Plan A, Johan, though. It's really hard. It's really hard for me because I don't want to go too deep into like.
Yeah, we don't. The only clear marker that we have of when Johan's motivations changed was when he saw the book, right?
Right.
So we don't know if that was something where it's like, oh my god, I forgot this, and it's been 3 years since I thought about it, or it's been 13 years since I thought about it.
Yeah, great
point. We don't really know. But
yeah,
I could see Johan, if we were going to the, like, depending on how we want to go with Johan's vulnerabilities and things like that, how many he has, what they look like and things, I could see him having something where he would feel ashamed to return home without his sister. I lost her, and he wouldn't want to say something like that, right? So he has to get her back,
I think that on that respect, we can't truly know Johan's full motivations.
No. And that's kind of the fun of the show.
Until he meets up with Anna.
Yeah. Yeah, and even then, who knows? Because everything that he says could be a lie to manipulate her. We really don't know. Yeah.
But hey, this episode was something else.
It really was.
Yeah. Something else, indeed. I would say it's one of the episodes that I'll probably want to rewatch once I have the full context of certain things, particularly with Grimmer.
Sure.
But I think also what they're trying to say is like, that's it. That's Grimmer's full character right there. And
sure, and now
we're just going to see different angles of him expressing
coming
that.
to terms with it and growing,
and maybe some
like
development later. But I'm actually now really worried about Grimmer's character being done now.
Done in a dying sense, or
done in a he's gonna die soon now.
I would not be too surprised in the fact that they brought Lung back, and it seems like Death Flag's there. I would not be surprised at all if it ended up being this big convergence and a bunch of people die.
Yeah,
like or not necessarily all at once, but like in quick succession. Maybe,
We're coming up to that same situation we were at in Munich, where battle lines started to be drawn up and people started to team up, and everything was getting prepped to go down. But because I still think that the side that Johan is on essentially hasn't done that yet.
Right.
We are safe for now.
Yeah, I mean, it could end up just being Johan and the parents are dead and gone or whatever, right?
Yeah, and the whole, what's his name? Bonaparte.
Yeah, the Rose Mansion, things like that. That could all just be something where it's like, oh yeah, that
that 5
was
years
a thing.
Too late. Yeah.
Exactly. But
it does sound like a proper showdown place for... an end of the story thing. So
Yep.
Yeah. Guys, good episode. Very, very disturbing. Good, like Johan stuff. So, hey, we got our wish. We got Johan.
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
So, guys, if you want to see the next episode's reaction right now, go check out the link in the description below for our Patreon. You can get early access there. You can watch full-length reactions there. And all this comes with Discord access, where you can chat with us about stories, about the episodes as they come out without spoilers, of course, or whatever. And if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all next time.